Welcome back to Album Reviews,
Welcome back.
where I'm not going to be carrying this episode. Anybody else want to carry?
So, today we are doing South of Heaven by Slayer.
Big Four.
Big Four.
Yeah.
And George is in the background. Hi, George. What's up?
This is their fourth album.
Okay.
It was released on July 5th, 1988 by Def Jam Recordings.
Does that mean Snoop Dogg Slayer crossover?
Possibly.
Maybe one day.
If you dream big enough.
It was produced
No, he's
by...
not on Def Jam anymore.
yeah, not anymore. It was produced by the one Rick Rubin, so there's that.
Yup.
I know that about this album, which a lot of
He
their
was
albums
he was
were.
also on their previous album,
Yeah.
Rain and Blood. This is probably, well, I picked this album because it's my favorite. It has my favorite Slayer song, "Mandatory Suicide" on it.
Yes.
That song is.
Anything you want
fucking
to say,
amazing.
Luke, before we start looking at the songs?
I have guitar this video.
He does. He was very proud to show it.
Yeah.
It's thrash metal if you don't know.
So
Yeah.
Slayer at this point in time is getting even more popular than they thought they would. They genuinely thought they weren't going to make it this far. They were bouncing back and forth with different tours. They were still doing Rain and Blood, and I don't recall if production was hectic, but I know during one of the albums they lost all of their fucking gear because they had no time. They were given 2 months to record this whole album, and that's not
Oh,
enough
really?
time.
Wow.
That's not enough time. 2 months only.
That's
Wow.
Eventually, they jumped to
didn't know
another
that.
recording studio, which
That
gave,
also might explain why it's so short.
they jumped
Yeah.
to another recording studio
Now, no,
3
that
weeks.
actually.
3
Makes
fucking
it
weeks
like
to
this.
record and finalize. So it went from 2 months to 3
For
weeks.
3 weeks.
So
Basically 1 month. They had.
Slayer,
Somewhere around there.
picture this: the Big Four. Who was the most popular?
Metallica.
Metallica.
Who got shit on the most? The other 3.
Yeah.
Yep.
Anthrax at this point had a fire that burnt down their studio and all their major recording gear. Dave was still trying to deal with the fact he was bouncing back and forth between
I
different
mean, he
lead
couldn't find
guitarists,
anybody.
and drummers, and these guys were just getting fucking shat on too. They had a little bit better luck, but they also had major internal problems. A lot of the guys that, like Slayer, the original lineup, Jeff Hanneman, Tom Araya, Kerry King, and I forget the drummer. They were tight, but after a while, the shit
drummer on here.
the shit just kept getting more and more intense, and with popularity comes a lot more stress because you need to stay relevant.
Yep.
So eventually, these guys would fall apart, but this is later on down the line.
Yeah, that's later. We're going to talk about this album today. I guess now we can get into the tracks. And then the first track is the title track.
South of Heaven.
I think that's an amazing song to open an album
Yeah.
with.
Oh, it has to be. It is. It's,
It's a smash hit, 10 out of 10.
yep, 10 out of 10.
It's a,
That's
yeah,
easily like.
it's a very good
I
opening
definitely
track.
think it's a very good way to kick off the album.
Oh, it starts off and then Silent Scream.
Silent
It
Scream
kept up
is
the
another
tempo.
song I think that really, really good, like, for what it is.
So, Silent Scream is the next one.
Yes.
Yep.
I like that one. The 3 major songs off this album that I think a lot of people know if they're like metal music fans: South of Heaven,
Mandatory Suicide.
Mandatory Suicide, and Silent Scream.
Yeah, those are like the big 3 you'd probably know. So what's next?
Automatically.
Live Undead.
So this one,
I like this one.
it's okay,
Yeah.
but this is a problem that me and Luke kind of discussed before we made this episode, is it's one of those songs where it feels like it's just going fast for no reason. It's just like trying to pump out as much as they can in like a
So-
short amount of time.
You're recording a song and you just want to make some shit. Done. That's it.
Yeah, that's kind of how some of
I
these songs
still
are.
like it though. It's still.
It's not a bad song, it's
Yeah,
just...
It's going like this the whole time. And then it
Pretty
ends.
much.
It's like, what the fuck?
Yeah, that was one of the shorter ones.
I don't know, that's just kind of... I don't know, that song just wasn't really hitting me the right way, but it was alright.
No,
It's not a bad song. I don't think any song on this album
no,
is bad.
I don't think there's any bad song on here.
Yeah, I'd say every song
Like even
is passable.
even like their slower ones near the end. Like they have one slower one at the end.
The
It's
chunky
still-
riffs that just chug along,
Yeah.
they're fine. I don't mind them. I like slower, chuggy riffs. Like,
It's
they're
still,
great.
but still, like the whole album still kept up with that fast-paced
Mm-hmm.
classic thrash.
So next track, since you have the album pulled up.
Behind the Crooked Cross.
This is one of my favorite tracks.
That actually
That's
is a
what it
good
was.
one. Now that I recall,
Yes.
that is a pretty fucking solid song.
That is probably I hate to say it, that's probably my favorite song off the album.
Out of the
Yeah.
rest of the tracks, though, I don't know if it could hold its own.
That's true.
No,
That's
it holds it on. It holds up with the album.
Not on its own.
No, it doesn't.
I don't know. I really
But,
like that
yeah,
one.
I really love that.
That's
one.
probably my favorite
The
one.
next one is my favorite Slayer song. It's Mandatory Suicide. That is
That was
because
probably
it-
my favorite song on the album.
yes, it
It's
goes.
pretty good.
It goes with the fucking heavy thrash, and then
Suicide.
slows down. Almost slows down for like a thrash breakdown kind of. Not
Not really
slow,
a breakdown.
Yeah, not
the
breakdown.
only,
It's
now, listen,
bad word.
the only song that I can give credit to as the proto breakdown, "Escape" by Metallica.
Yeah.
That's the only song I can give credit to that has a proto breakdown. But this album, there's no such thing.
Yeah,
as
there-
that idea.
This is all the fast, very fast riffs.
Mm-hmm.
Why they're big four of metal.
Yeah, I think this
Because
is
it
a
was all
very
that
good song.
thrash. It's that old school thrash era.
Yeah.
Ghost of War
Ghost of War is the next track.
actually has almost the same exact riff as Master of Puppets and Painkiller and E1M1. They all have the same riff. And if they're not the same riff, they're very, very similar. It's the
If I had my amp,
Yeah.
fuck, if I was plugged in, I'd be able to do it.
But
Well,
they
I
all
can't
have
do it.
like that similar, very
Yeah,
similar
it's
sounding.
that fucking
They all have that, or at
Yeah,
least some variation.
E1M1
It's-
is or At Doom's Gate is the other name of the
Wait.
song. And then there's Painkiller has a very, very similar riff that's a little bit different, but it's almost exactly the same. And then Master of Puppets also has that, and Ghost of War also has that. fucking-
Also
Yeah, like,
has that.
They
it's
all
crazy
have. They all have.
how popular that riff is. Because whenever I hear that riff, I am instinctively like, this is not the first song that's
So,
and I wonder how many more songs actually have that riff, because I'm sure it's a very common one.
Here's something to note too: the '80s was not a popular time to transition tunings. Nowadays, like in modern metal, the lowest tunings that I've heard are like drop A, which is very, very low. You need an extended range instrument where you really need thick gauge strings and a long neck. So for a guitar player in the '80s, your go-to tuning was E standard, which is what this is in. This is what every thrash metal guy played on. This is what every thrash metal guy in the future would play on. Or they go a half step down because it's edgier and heavier. The lowest tuning that I heard in the thrash metal era that was used consistently, Exodus, had E flat and D standard, which is the tuning that they used on Sabbath True and the Black Album. So they didn't really go or deviate from the beaten path. This is a music nerd saying this. They didn't deviate from what their heroes played. E standard. That's what they played. I don't think we were supposed to notice that, but yeah, I love that.
motherfuckers!
You need a fucking like
Fucking bandolier. He was a fucking bandolier.
yeah, he needs a fucking bullet bandolier.
Anyway, Ghost of War, I think that's a good song.
Yeah.
That
one's
Read
pretty
between the
solid.
lines.
Read between the lines.
That's another one that I was like okay to me.
Yeah,
That's like one of the other okay
I actually
tracks.
like the first half of this album a lot more than I like the second half.
I agree.
Once we reach around Ghost of War, I feel like it kind of.
Well, this is where it
It's a lot
started. Like,
Sorry, I'm
kind
looking
of.
at Fog Machine. I kind of felt like that was good.
Well, this is kind of where it started slowing down a little.
I wouldn't say
I
slow.
said the
That's-
quality is still good,
Yes,
but
quality
it is
still good.
slowing.
It
A
started
little
like
bit.
the album still keeps up with the
Its
heavy
pace.
hitting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
From the start, it still keeps up with that pace.
The
So,
pace stays the same throughout the album. My interest gets like it starts leaning towards the end of the album.
yeah.
But luckily it wraps up before it overstays its welcome.
Yeah, well, that's the thing is the album's still very short. It's only like 45 minutes long.
It's like 38. It's
Really?
really short.
Yeah.
It's 36.
So
Yeah.
that's short album
Yeah,
for
it is a
especially for
very
the
short
80s.
album.
That's like close to a demo.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually a demo.
That's about what like a normal
Well,
LP
think about it.
would
They
be.
only had 3 weeks to make it.
Yeah.
So
So the initial idea was they were gonna go in the studio and record and try to get their shit done, like professionally. The recording studio said, "Your beat, you only have 2 months. Get what you can done, and you're out." Well, the contract expired and they were fucked for a recording studio. So the next 3 weeks, they were fucking in another studio without their personal gear to finish and finalize recordings.
So after that, we have
What's next?
Cleanse.
Cleanse
of
the
the
Soul.
Soul.
That one's not bad. I like that one.
Yeah, that's not terrible. Luke, Cleanse the Soul.
It's
Anything?
alright. It's fair.
Yeah, it's alright.
It's passable.
It's good for what it is. Okay, what's after that?
I'll state my opinions on the album when we're completely done.
Yeah, okay.
How many songs do we have left?
Aggressor.
2 more left.
Yeah.
What's it called?
Dissident Aggressor.
That one I also really like.
Yeah, that was,
like,
I really like
I think the last few songs kind of pick it up for me a little bit. Like the last 2, especially.
Yeah.
I think it starts picking up like for me personally, the quality again, and it's really good. I'll say that. It's not my favorite, but it's good. And then the closing track, Spill the Blood. Again, one of my favorite tracks on the album. I think it. I understand if it's not everyone's
Right.
favorite, but you're just tired.
I'm yawning.
Oh,
Fuck.
damn.
I'm dead.
But that one's really good. It's a good closing track. I'll say it's good for what it is.
And then after that,
That's
That's
it.
it.
yeah,
That's the end of the album.
oh yeah,
Yeah, that's the last
Dude,
one.
I really like the whole album in full.
Yeah, I think all of it together works
Like, 'cause-
very well.
yeah.
Very
This
well.
is what, like, I grew up listening to Metallica. I didn't get into Slayer till maybe late middle school, I think.
Like high school, like early high school.
early high school or late middle school, and then like that's from listening to Metallica, listening to Big Four, little Megadeth and stuff here and there. That's what I grew up was that thrash era, that thrash metal.
As someone this is their first ever listened into a Slayer album before.
This is also mine.
Yes,
Yeah, this is my first time listening to it in full.
me too. But I think it is. I think it's good. I feel like it's not the best that they have in their discography, but I do think it's definitely a
What the fuck was that?
stray bullet. I will say it's a very good album. Not one of my favorite of that era, but still very good.
I don't mind this album. I do like the songs that were on it. I do have my favorites, but the only thing is, as a thrash fan, as a metal fan, I do understand what's cool, what's not cool, what was right, what wasn't right. This is something that's passable for the time. There was great songs on it.
Very good songs.
They're not a mediocre band. They're a fucking phenomenal
They're the
band.
big four. One of the
They-
big four for a reason.
They are. The only downside
I
is
say
is that
big
they
four
had time constraints at
video.
the ass.
Mm-hmm.
So
Too many.
the best I can say for this album is a first time listening to it in full as well.
Very good. Well, good.
It's
but
good, but the songs sound the same. This is something that I do have a problem with because I've noticed this a lot lately. A lot of the thrash metal bands at the time, they weren't copying each other intentionally. It was unintentional
Yeah.
riffs that they heard, and
Yeah, no, I do agree.
all the fucking punk bands and all the proto metal bands that these guys grew up with, they copied their heroes. So they would fucking imitate styles that they liked and put their own twist on it, which is where this came from. Like I said, thrash metal to an extent is now stale.
nowadays,
Nowadays it's
kinda
stale. There's no reason for you to be playing thrash metal anymore. If there's someone in the metal scene who wants to get big, they have to either have a fucking guitar that's 3 foot long, the size of a surfboard, with 20 strings on it for you to play every single note and every single octave, or you have to be your own self-contained artist playing Polyphia riffs. Come with me if you want to live.
Thrash metal is not dead. For that, you are terminated.
Thrash metal, I'm pretty sure is.
Unfortunately, you're
I
right.
wouldn't say it's dead. It just needs some sort of band to give it a good renaissance.
It's like it's harder for a
Revitalization.
new metal band to come in and try and do thrash.
They can't. Not the
It's
same.
no.
If that era's long gone.
But we still have relics of the glory days, like Slayer and Metallica and
Slayer's gone,
Anthrax.
dude.
And
Slayer's been done for
Well-
some time. Anthrax
well,
is
that's-
celebrating the 40th anniversary.
that's
though.
not what
That's
I
something
meant. That
cool.
is not what I meant.
Megadeth's still around. Metallica.
Megadeth is still
still
around.
around.
Yeah.
Anthrax is
Not
still
long.
around. Those
Anthrax, I
are
don't
the
think
three.
they're
Metallica,
stopping.
they're still kicking it.
Yeah,
Kinda.
well,
Somehow.
they're around.
They exist.
Is this our final thoughts time?
Shall we
Yeah.
give the ratings? So, Jake, since you are the
Okay.
one to pick the album, you go first.
Fuck. I was originally gonna say like 10 out of 10 or something because I really like this. This
Wrong.
is really good. Hey,
There you go. There you
What?
go.
Honestly, this was hard. I'm saying 9.5 because
We'll round
it's
it down to
still
9.
fucking. What do you mean round it down? No, it's my fucking pick.
We don't do
We don't
0.5s.
do 0.5s
The
here.
fuck you mean? Why?
There's probably
9 is still almost perfect. Though.
Yeah,
Okay,
9 is
fucking
still
9.
an almost perfect
Dicks.
album. So
So,
why would
9
you give it a
well-
9 and not a 10 then?
Fuck you. Now you're second guessing me. God damn it, motherfucker.
You're supposed to have the rating before we start the episode.
Yeah, I did, and then I changed my mind midway through the fucking episode.
God,
So,
Jay.
Well,
Just fucking
alright,
stick
I'm
with
gonna
the
give it a 9. Yeah, I'm gonna give it a 9 because
It's still almost perfect.
yeah, it's
Wrong
still-
answer.
AJ,
It's good.
Okay.
It kept up with the fucking thrash pace, the album, and the pace still kept up. I'm gonna shut the fuck up now.
Okay.
he liked it.
He likes
likes
it.
it.
Okay, I'll go next. I'm gonna say it's a 7, which is still a good album.
That's still a great album.
It's
Wrong.
all right, well, George. What would you rate it?
He didn't
Well,
even listen to
fuck. Okay, so I'm gonna say it's a 7 because it's got really good songs on it. It's got a lot of bangers on it, but I feel like some of the weaker tracks kind of hold it back, and it does. Some of them do sound kind of samey, and it kind of drags it down a little bit for me. And I know this isn't their best, and I know it's not the best that was out at the time, but I also have to give it respect for what they were put under according to what Lucas told me. So I say 7. And I think it's good. I highly recommend it, but I wouldn't say listen to it first. Luke, you want to
Leave
go?
my opinion last.
Okay, Zach, what do you
Leave my
give it?
opinion last.
See, this isn't my. This is kind of leaning the edge of my metal listening. Like this is
Oh.
almost. It's almost too heavy for me,
Oh, see.
Wrong.
but I still like it,
Yes.
and I'm gonna give it the same score as AJ. I'm
7?
also gonna give
Okay.
it a 7 out of 10.
You're gonna hate me for it. I'm giving it a 5.
Wow.
What?
Why?
Wrong.
5?
I like Slayer. I do like Slayer a lot.
Okay.
The downside to this album is it just, as a thrash guy, there's some things that you can like fucking jam on and be like, yeah, this is fun. But when you hear the same shit over and over and over again, it gets repetitive, which the album was boring to listen to a certain extent. Because I played it a couple of times over to just understand what the riffs were. And I was like, this is the same fucking song.
I do get that sentiment though, because when I listen to an album for this series, I usually have the disc in my car, and after a few listens, it does start to kind of blend together.
There are standout
Yeah.
songs. I'm
but
not
there
gonna
is
lie.
standouts.
Yeah, like I respect them for what they did, and I respect them for what they could produce at the time. But all the thrash metal guys were trying to stay relevant because new genres and new fucking people were coming out. 88, death metal came out. And death metal was something that nobody fucking heard before and nobody could keep up with because kids younger than these guys were playing riffs the exact same pace, the exact
Yep.
same style. 88 was when Cannibal Corpse came out. When they first fucking hit the scene, these guys are just trying to keep up and trying to stay relevant. 5 is the only reason I say 5 is because it's not the same because I'm so used to hearing fast shit and heavy shit. And Slayer's heavy, but this just wasn't.
It wasn't as heavy
This
for
wasn't the same vibe that every other album that they've had given off. It's just not my
Okay.
cup of tea anymore. This album's not my cup of tea, I should say.
All right, that's Well, for the second week in a row, we have a real winner. All right, Luke, what are you picking next?
Second week, bro. Wait.
Zach,
Oh,
you think this isn't heavy?
Uh-oh.
You think this is too
Oh.
Oh,
heavy? The Bleeding by Cannibal Corpse. Done.
Yes!
We're done.
Yes!
I've never listened to this.
Yes!
You're gonna hate me for it, but the bleeding's fucking really intense.
no. All right.
Yes!
Okay, that's what we'll be listening to next.